and smiled and walked away. But then I knew, because that's an hour later he meets with Oliver North, Calero, head of the Contras, and all the guys, and he knew what was going on. But take it for what it's worth. What's going to happen.
Sure.
You got to remember, we have the best intelligence network in the world, and they all know what's going on. And it's just ignorance to the law is no excuse.
Who are some of your heroes? Do you have any people you look up to in this government of ours that you think really are trying to continue to carry on the tradition of representing America's best interests?
Well, I hate to say it, but I don't think there's nobody out there.
No. It's okay.
Meg Waters tried, but she just stopped at one point. She just came to a complete halt.
Yeah, was she told to knock it off?
Well, basically, this is what...
No, he's talking... Excuse me, Sully. He's talking about Maxine Waters, of course, from L.A.
Right, the Congresswoman.
Congresswoman.
And what happened was, I think, my professional opinion is the fact that she was being used by Clinton for the impeachment thing, and if the Republicans tried to impeach Clinton, actually take him out of office, then she was going to release Maxine with all the information on the Republicans during the 80s with drug trafficking. And that was the standoff, as they say. And that's why she didn't move or do anything else until she got orders that it was okay, nothing was going to happen.
Wow.
But, that was the bottom line. I really thought that she was going to come out and help. But then again, her husband was the ambassador to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, I know how that works.
And, my local congressman's not going to do anything because he's one of the boys and so forth, and I don't know what else to say, but if there's two people that I've seen them now as we speak. They're trying to do something about this, and this is the representative from Illinois, Jan Jaworski, and she introduced a bill, bill number 1591, and it's an introduction. It's called the Andes Region Contractors Accountability Act. Mm-hmm. And what it is it prohibits the federal government from funding private armies in the Andes region. Okay, and she just put that bill into effect this past month. And now, will it pass? I don't know.
Will it?
we tried with the Open Records Act, and it didn't happen.
Right. No, it didn't. It didn't
exactly.
Indeed. There are some great publications out there dealing with this subject, and others, of course. COP versus CIA. You've got to stop by and see that website. Michael Rupert has put together some tremendous information, as you well know, so he's a great friend of yours.
Right.
From the Wilderness, it's called. He's got one issue here that is his very provocative headline. Why does George W. Bush fly in drug smuggler Barry Seal's airplane? Barry Seal, of course, was eliminated, but did you have any run-ins with people that knew Seal and so forth?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of our agents down in Florida that I knew personally, I had worked with in New York City, were the handlers of Barry Seals. And when I was
they handled him.
Yeah, they handled him. He was an informant for the DEA and the CIA and so forth. But and he was going to complain. He was going to talk about how the CIA was involved in drug trafficking and so forth, and that's when he got whacked.
Why was he going to talk? Why was he going to come clean?
Well, because he had. You got to remember, he had two cases that he was working off. In other words, he was being charged with drug trafficking prior to becoming an informant. So he had that over his head.
I see.
And he just got a little cocky, also. Being the biggest drug trafficker that ever happened. There's also another website. It's called Guerrilla News Network.
Guerrilla News Network.
Yes, they just did a big documentary on the crack the CIA out of L.A., and it's under video now on their website.
Oh, really? It's up there now?
Yes. They
Guerrilla News Network.
Yes.
.com, I assume.
And basically what you have is Mike Rupert, you have myself, and some other people out of Mena, Arkansas, that lady who was a reporter up there, and another professor, and other people. So
I got it. So was Bush Sr. flying around in Barry Seal's airplane at some time?
Well, no. It was George W. What happened was that plane was purchased by the state of Texas.
So it was Junior that got the plane. Okay.
Exactly.
So it wasn't
Junior.
Barry Steele wasn't at the controls, but it used to be his airplane.
Yeah, exactly. And what it was it just happened that the state of Texas bought that plane before George W. became governor. And he just used it to fly around. But it was just ironic that it belonged to Barry.
It's very ironic that Barry Seals. She. All right, now the question that I want to pop in here before I forget it is asset forfeiture and asset acquisition by the government, claiming drugs and so forth. That has been used, I guess, and abused by many people.
Absolutely.
This is something that is, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of private. They can come in and charge you folks, and we'll tell them how it works, Sully.
Well, basically, you only have to be charged with it.
Not even charged.
Not even charged with it. I have some people right now that they've taken their property and so forth, and what I do now is I'm an expert witness on entrapment and informants for federal cases. And basically, it's got nothing to do with the guy being guilty or not guilty. It's got with the agents following procedures. And out of 10 cases I've worked, every single case, I've got approximately 10 to 20 counts of government misconduct that can prove the fact that the FBI and the DEA agents lied and their informants lied and so forth, and the prosecutor lied and so forth. But when they find out that we know what the misconduct is, then they plea out the guy with the condition that he's not going to talk about the misconduct.
So they give him back his stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
He signs a deal. I'm not going to talk.
To get away with it,
I see.
Michael Brunswick, who was the head of the IG's office, said, "Hey, you need a police action group outside the agency to investigate the FBI and the DEA."
Good luck.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, for a guy that worked for the government for many, many years, and then all of a sudden he says, "Hey, these people are out of control." And we saw it at, Ruby Ridge. We saw it at Waco. We saw it, but basically, right now, as we speak, there's a guy now who spent 30 years in jail back in 1970 as a Sicilian guy or Italian guy, and he was framed by the FBI. Now they subpoenaed the FBI agents, and they pled the fifth. I mean, I'm talking about civil rights violations that have been committed for many, many years by our government.
Took half the guy's life away from him.
Saw a write-up that came out of Colombia where several Israelis were sentenced to do a hard time, 14 years in prison, and what it was they in the 1980s they built those death squads down in Colombia where they trained the death squads to work with the cartels and the paramilitary. And
the Israelis were captured down there recently?
Well, no, they were not captured. They were just sentenced, and the guy.
They were not there. They were sentenced in absentia.
Exactly. And the guy by the name of Klein, he was a former military colonel with the Israeli army. Says, I can only tell you one thing that until now I have never said. I was in Colombia by invitation of the American. Period. Everything the U.S. can do, because it's prohibited, we do it for them. And then he says, and they know that if anything happens to me, there are several people who have in their possession enough material to show who paid me to train and work in Colombia.
Well, there's that life insurance again.
There it is, going back to the mercenaries.
I would imagine anybody with half a brain going into this business would begin to do what you did, unless they're dumb, and put material away somehow.
Yes, it's amazing, and I think that everybody should. That work with the government.
Sully, what is the future for the DEA? I mean, everyone's got a price. We hear about corruption, DEA agents caught red-handed, evidence disappears. You know the game. There are a lot of people in the DEA and other agencies who are corrupt, and they want to make a buck like anybody else, and they'll take every chance to do it. Exactly.
It's just they're becoming very wealthy and so forth, and it's amazing, and working with informants who are crooks and lying.
I can't even imagine that.
I mean,
lifestyle.
It's just we saw it with the LAPD, we saw it with NYPD,
sure,
and with the federal government.